Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Alright, so I'm going to talk about puzzles, and it does have to do with the way narcissists think and why they can't put the pieces together, literally, okay? So, here, this should be a very simple, hopefully a very simple and short video. So here's the deal. I'm going to cut right to the chase without beating around the bush. And it's also why you can catch them in lies really easily if you're just being honest with yourself and just hearing what you're hearing instead of, filtering it through, oh, they don't really mean that. Yeah, they do mean it. So here's the deal. The left brain is really, really good at focusing on one thing at a time. It's like looking through a microscope. See, a microscope blocks out 99.999% of all reality, and it only isolates on one little tiny thing. And that's all they can see. See, if you get really good at looking into a narcissist's eyes, you can see that their pupils are generally small and they come together and they're very narrow. That's how you know someone's very logical, very left brain, very like a scientist looking down a microscope. And that's another reason why it's really hard to have a conversation with narcissists, because they can't put the pieces together. They can't do it. That's why they will cut you off when you're trying to talk, is because like you're putting the pieces together, but their brain can't do abstract thinking, okay? The right brain does abstract thinking. So narcissists are very proud how logical they are. The problem with being stuck in your logical brain is you don't have the ability to put the pieces together, okay? That's a right brain function. So the left brain's focused on finite detail, especially the further you go over. And then the right brain is about the big picture, literally putting the pieces of the puzzle together to see the big picture. That's a right brain function. So here's the deal. The left brain literally separates the pieces of the puzzle, and it does it on purpose. Okay? So it's really good at studying one thing at a time to find out, well, why is this molecule or atom, why does it function like this? So it gets it literally, the water that is underneath the microscope in the little glass thing, I forget what that's called, is 99.99% pure water. So there's no impurities because they don't want anything mixing in with that. And that's how a narcissist talks to you. They can only talk about one finite thing they can't even talk about a subject. It has to be a finite piece of the subject. So this is why it's really hard talking to narcissists, because they don't have the ability to put the pieces together and to flow into conversation. And this is why they're very, very controlling in conversations, is because they just flat out can't put the pieces together. And this is why they're rude and they interrupt you again and again. Look, I'm trying to say something, because their brain can't handle. All right. So the right brain, I'm a very right brain person. I've developed it over the years. It's something I teach in my courses for men so they can communicate with women better, and for romance and seduction, believe it or not. So the right brain can carry on multiple conversations at a time while thinking about, something they have to do when they go home. And women are famous for being able to carry on multiple tasks at the same time. The right brain is about options and possibilities, multitasking. Left brain, especially the farther you go there, it can't do that. So this fries a narcissist's brain when you talk about more than one subject at a time. Okay, have you ever had a conversation with a narcissist where they are saying something, maybe even arguing to death a certain point or a certain subject, okay? And literally 3 minutes later, they start sometimes they'll even argue the complete opposite. And you're like, wait a minute, you just said blah, blah, blah 3 minutes ago. And they're like, oh, I did? Hold on, let me think about that. It's either going to be, I don't remember that, because they can't. And here's the other thing. If they do remember it, it's like, oh shit. It's like they trapped themselves and they don't even realize, like, shit, I was arguing that, huh? And so what they will do is they'll just say, no, I never said that. And you're like, yeah, you literally just said that 3 or 4 minutes ago. No, I didn't say that. They'll either deny it, or they will shift the conversation, or they will blame shift onto you. They won't own up to it. Okay, I've got a really, really good example. So the further you go into your left brain, the more it's like you're looking down a narrow, narrow tube, like looking under a microscope, where all you can see is what's right down those 2 little tubes, right? You can't even see anything a millimeter to the left because your eyes are literally on the microscope. So that's the way a narcissist, when they look around, they look left, they look right, but everything's separate. Whereas if you look at me, my pupils are dilated, they're wide open, and they're slightly pulled apart, so I can see the bigger picture. So when my eyes go from left to right, it's a sweeping motion. When a narcissist does it, imagine they're looking down a little 1-inch tube, and the tube's about, I don't know, 2 feet long. It's like they look left, they look right. These two things they looked at have no connection in their eyes because they're looking down the tube, right? So if you try to make that connection, they're going to look at you like, oh God, this person's so dumb. There's no connection there because they can't see it. Okay. I've got a real life example. Ladies, this is going to make you laugh. Guys, it's going to make you laugh too. It's something that men do. So ultimately in my course, I get these guys who, they're very narrow, their vision's very narrow. And when they talk to a woman, they'll look at their boobs while they're talking to them, thinking that the woman can't see that he's looking at her boobs, right? I'm serious. And here's the reason why. Now, a lot of my clients, when I go, dude, you cannot do that. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm not looking at her boobs while he's looking at her boobs. And women will call men out there and go, hello, I'm up here. Hello. Well, ladies. So I actually have a tube here. It's about 3 feet long. And what I do is I show the guys, okay, can you tell that I'm looking at your chest? They're like, well, yeah, of course, because I'm looking through the tube. They're like, well, yeah, because the tube's pointing to my chest. I go, can you see that I cannot see you looking at me? They're like, yeah, of course. Then I'll look back up at their eyes through the tube. Can you tell that I'm looking at your eyes? They're like, yeah. I go, can you tell that I know that you're looking at me? They're like, well, yeah, of course. Now I look back down at their chest. I go, so you can tell that I'm looking at your chest? They're like, yeah, of course. I go, can I tell that you can see that I'm looking at your chest? They're like, well, no, because your eyes are very narrow and you're looking down the tube. I go, precisely. That's exactly what you do whenever we go out and you talk to women. And he's like, wait, what? You mean women can see? I was like, yeah, she can see that you're looking at her boobs, dude. So ladies, guys don't think that I know it sounds bizarre, but they don't think that you can see them looking at your chest. So when you go, hello, I'm up here, like okay, I actually had a client do this, and he looked up at the woman with his tubular eyes. He goes, yeah, I know you're up there. And he looks right back down at her boobs. She goes, hello, look at me up here. He goes, I am looking at you up there, while he was looking at her chest directly. So this is what I'm talking about. A narcissist does a very similar thing when you're talking about, multiple subjects. They see things as separate, and therefore they don't see where the connection is. Now watch this. Narcissists literally are like little children. So you know how like a little kid, if they don't want their mommy or daddy to see them, they'll cover up their own eyes? So in their logic or their reasoning, since my eyes are covered and I can't see them, that means they can't see me. And that is exactly what a narcissist does. So if you're just paying attention, just watch them. And okay, it's like when you become aware of a narcissist, like you can just see right through their bullshit, and you're looking at them like, dude, I know you're lying. And I've said that, like, I know you're lying. And they get this lost look on their face, like, how could you possibly know that? Because in their eyes, I'm lying to them. So they don't know that I'm lying. Like, yes, I do. It's obvious. And so, all right, I'm going to give you a true story. Okay, so I got a chance. Sorry, bad English. I'm standing up. So I got the chance to work with an Olympic downhill skier, Trish Bull from New Zealand. This was a long time ago. And what happened was she had to wear glasses. And she didn't like that. It was a pain in the ass, and her eyes would burn after a while, and they'd get tired. And so we did some therapy on it, and really what it was timeline therapy. And here's what happened. When she was a little girl, her mommy and daddy were in the room, and they could see down the hallway, because the door was open. And Trish had to cross the hallway, but didn't want to get caught and didn't want to get in trouble. So what she did was she closed her eyes, right? Thinking, well, if I can't see them, they can't see me. Now, here's what happened. When I took her back to that very, very first memory of the first time she did that, and we did the healing work right there, all of a sudden, boom, she never had to wear glasses again after that. Okay? So that's how powerful the mind is. And a lot of times people that wear glasses and people that can't hear well, and there's a lot of things like that. There's nothing wrong with your eyes. There's nothing wrong with your ears. It's a psychological thing that you did. So I just use that as an example. But with a narcissist, they do this with everything. Now, over the years, I have worked with narcissists on accident through my dating relationship course, because at the time, I didn't know. Okay, so literally about 1 out of 10 guys just couldn't get it. Like, they just could not open up to the right brain. They couldn't ground themselves emotionally, no matter how many techniques I walked them through. And like, geez, what's going on with this guy? And they couldn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, when it comes to right brain communication, you have to be able to think abstractly, and you have to be able to connect the dots, so to speak, right? So I noticed that these guys they would just struggle, and then they would go into the lying phase. Oh no, I get it, and I go, well, then go ahead and show me. Oh, well, just trust me. And I'm like, no, I'm not just going to trust you. You have to be able to do this, otherwise we can't move on to the next technique. So I got a lot of experience, well, not a lot, but enough experience to see that some people just can't, even when you teach them techniques on how to open up to the right brain, they just can't do it. And that is a narcissist. Now, someone, obviously a narcissist, tried to convince me, well, everyone's on, it's a range, Mike, and everyone's on that range somewhere where they're a lot narcissist or a little bit narcissist. That is absolutely not true at all. Here's why. Narcissists do not want to open up to their right brain. Either they don't want to, well, most of them don't want to, or they can't, because neurologically they're damaged or something's not right. They can't. Just let's put it this way. They just won't open up to the right brain for whatever reason, and that's why they don't change. Now, here's the deal. If you can open up to your right brain, you're not a narcissist, because narcissists can't freaking do that. They won't do it. It's their worst nightmare on Elm Street, okay? They will not do it. And the reason is because they do not want to deal with their emotions. They do not want to feel emotional pain. So that's what they have worked on very, very hard. In fact, everything they do is to block out their pain. That's why they can't stop thinking. That's why they're on video games. That's why they're on dating apps. That's why they're constantly on the computers. They're constantly, thinking and doing and watching, because they don't want to feel emotional pain. That's why they are a narcissist, is because they have locked themselves off into their left brain. Okay, so here's the deal. I want you to imagine this. Imagine you're looking down, those cardboard tubes, kind of like that, come with toilet paper, but then there's really the longer ones that come with, like the ones you put in the kitchen, the hand towels. Well, imagine you have one that's even longer than that, that's about 2.5 feet long or so. And you got your left eye closed and your right eye open. You put it right around your eye so you can only see down the tube. Now imagine in front of you is this, about 10-15 feet in front of you is this big wall about 15 feet high and about 30 or 40 feet wide. Well, imagine looking all the way to the right at this one piece of the puzzle over there, right? Let's say there's a big picture on the wall. And the picture of is a huge apple tree that's really, really wide with these big, beautiful, juicy apples, and there's just big, dark, rich green leaves. All right. So you look all the way to the right, and what you see is an apple, and that's all you can see down your tube. You can't see the stem. You can't see the branch. You can't even see a leaf. Nothing. Just the apple. So then what you do is now you look all the way to the left to the other side, and now over there you see a green leaf. Okay? And then you look up and in front of you. So now you kind of move back, to the center, and you look up, and now you see about a 1-inch or 2-inch piece of the branch. Now so you can sit there and say, look, dude, that's an apple tree. They're like, dude, there's no freaking apple tree. Yeah, there's an apple over there, and there's a green leaf over there, and there's like some brown woody thing here, but there's no tree, dude. There's no tree at all. See, one thing about narcissists is not just narcissists, but people when they're in their left brain, it's like they're very, very close to the picture. And now they're looking down this tiny little tube, and that's all they see. So you sit there and say, look, dude, take about 5 steps back so you can see the bigger picture. Like, what are you talking about? Because their desire is to get closer and closer and closer. Well, they can't see the bigger picture in their mind. They just can't do it. So what I teach the average man, these are men that have access to the right brain, how to step back psychologically or mentally or visually in their mind, and sometimes physically, not to get close to a woman, but to physically take a half a step back and give her space so he can see the bigger picture, her entire body language, versus just looking at her mouth and listening to the words. That's why a lot of men can't see, the visual expressions or hear the tonality shift. Like when a woman, let's say a guy goes, hey honey, can I go to the concert with my friend? She goes, yeah, sure, you can go. Versus she crosses her arms, gets a scowl on her face. She goes, sure, if you want to. You can hear the total difference. The second one is hell no. The first one is sure, go ahead. All right. So this is another reason why narcissists have a hard time communicating, because they take everything so literal. So if you say sure, go ahead, he thinks, well, she said I can go. And he literally means that. He really thinks that. Only to come home to a very angry wife or a very angry girlfriend. He's like, well, what are you mad about? She's, are you kidding? You went to the concert. And he goes, well, you said I could go. No, I didn't. And then he gets pissed off thinking now she's playing games. And he's thinking, he's pissed, and she's going, I said no. And he's like, you said yes. No. She goes, no. And crosses her arm, gives a scowl on her face and pissed off with a pissed off tone and says, I said, sure, if you want to. He goes, see, you said I could go. Ladies, the one thing you have to understand about the male brain, it is literal, and it doesn't read body language. It doesn't pick up on the tone, the tonality, the tempo, the rhythm. It doesn't pick up on any of that. It just listens to the words. So now, that being said, just because your boyfriend or husband's a very left brain dude, that does not mean he's a narcissist, okay? Narcissists have very specific, very mean patterns and things that they do on purpose to hurt you. That's the difference. Now, a narcissist will never open up to the right brain. They're not an emotional being. They're not tuned in. They're just these overly logical, toxic creatures, okay? And they're mean, and they play mind games. So if your husband or boyfriend is at times emotional, that's fine. See, you have to understand the left brain is our default brain. So when it comes to communication, we automatically default to the left male logical brain. And therefore, we listen through logic. We don't listen through the 5 senses, which is the right brain. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste, which is all about tone, tonality, tempo, rhythm, the way she says it. Men don't do that unless they take my course and they're taught how. Okay, so the final piece of this puzzle for this video is what happened with you is you started putting the pieces together over the years unconsciously. You started to notice things like, when I was 20 years old, I started noticing whenever I felt sorry for someone, they almost always turned out to be this freaking monster down the road. So I started noticing, yeah, don't do that. Now, years later, when I learned about what narcissist abuse was, narcissists always look for people that have empathy, and they try to make you feel sorry for them. So I'm like, oh, no wonder. So what happened was you started putting the pieces together slowly, and you started to realize, like, wait, what's going on here? And then you started, okay, just like a puzzle, you know how you put enough of the puzzle together, but not all of it? Like, let's say you put like 60 or 70%, and then you go, oh, it's a red car with chrome, shiny hubs with a freaking whatever on it, like the number 4 on the side, right? Well, you even though you don't have all the pieces put together, you saw enough of it to intuitively go, oh, it's a freaking red Volkswagen from the 70s, like a love bug, and it has the number 4 on the side with a big black thick circle around it. So now it's easy to put the pieces together. And that is your intuition. Hey, this is Mike Colleen. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, it is getting better. Bye.